and welcome to Wake and Bake News, and I'm your host, Shampoo VTA, Kelly Davis, and how are you on this Wednesday morning, June 22nd, 2016? I am fine. Now, I was not able to re-up, but what I did instead was I processed all the leaf material I had been drying since I've been trimming and keefed it all and got as much keef out of it as possible, and then turned it into olive oil and butter, which I will show you in a moment. Plastic container with keef behind me. Okay. I also took a little tester bud off my plant and dried it out. Scraggly little tester bud to see how our buds are coming along, because they're looking awfully crystally and they're, the crystals are starting to milk up, though I know the bud production hasn't completely stopped on one of them. So one of them is almost done here, and that's what I have taken from to try while I tell you about the stories today. Oh, and I need to get some water, so I'll be right back. It's been so humid. The fog moved on me. It's like 80 degrees, this weekend, because we had this big, hot flash or whatever. California's going through menopause. They had a big hot flash. But, well, I guess the whole country did. And then this fog moved in last night, and it dropped from like 78, 80 degrees to 68 degrees within, and like it must have been a 3 or 4 hour period. And the fog just came, because whenever there's a major temperature change like that along the coastline, you get this coastal eddy thing. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I was just over there getting this stuff to show you, and I was like, I'm dying. Why is it so hot? I'm going to put my hair up. Okay, and I just got out of the shower, too, could be another thing. So here's the olive oil I made. And this is after I keefed the weed, right? So this is not going to be something that gets you high. Maybe a little bit, but not really totally high. And this is perfect for like my husband. I can cook with this and make sure that he's getting some kind of cannabinoids in him because he gets paranoid and edgy when he, smokes, because he hasn't found a strain yet, because normal people can't find the right strain right now because there's dispensary fucking bans and all these fucking assholes doing all this kind of thing. And the problem with that is that people like my husband, how the hell are they supposed to find the right strain for them? Because he's very interested in using marijuana. He sees what it does for me. He would love to have that kind of thing happening in his life. But the strains that we have just don't, work with him. And because of the way the stupid law is, it's going to take forever for him to be able to, we'd have to go to San Francisco and spend a month and just hit dispensaries and try things. And, it would just be, this is why we need research. Me, I'm so used to marijuana that I go through it. Like, I have had the paranoia, like somebody's walking into your house or something, or the cops are going to knock on the door. But I use it because I'm used to it. People that are not used to it don't realize it's coming over them, sit there going, why do I feel so edgy? And then you're in the middle of it. It's too late. You're not mentally prepared for it. You can't hang. I'm like, oh, wow, this is a very sativa bud. It's making me very edgy. I've got a lot of energy. I should utilize that. But with other people, it's like, why do I feel so weird? What's going on? And then, of course, their mind. It's like if you find something on your skin, you think it's cancer, you start going nuts. Yeah. It's my opinion anyway. Cheers. Oh, I put the bud sort of as a little natural screen, right? That shitty little leafy bud I just had, right? The experimental bud. And this is all that, I wish this camera would focus. And this is all the keef, or some of the keef on top. So let's see what happens. Oh, it tastes so much fucking better. Right away, that bud tastes so much better. Because I've been flushing like crazy getting ready for harvest. I was a little worried. Things were tasting awfully grassy. Okay. Here's the butter that I made and used my Avengers Marvel, uh, like ice mold, right, to mold them. So here's the butter I made, right? And this is after I keefed all this. So look at how green it is. It looks so cool. So this I can cook with, and the oil for my husband, and he gets something instead of Zippo because the stupid law is the way it is, and I'm able to utilize marijuana. And for him to do it, he'd have to spend $1 million and try strains that would end up going to me. He'd go, I wouldn't like that. Oh, good, I get another thing of buds. And we've already been through that together. And he's not excited about spending any money on something. He's just going to end up handing over to somebody else because it's not the right strain for him. He really hates that idea. So this kind of stuff helps. Okay, so the other thing was I finished my guitar yesterday and it just ain't going to work. I tried to fix these crappy kid tuners because they crack. They're plastic, cheap plastic, so they crack right here, and then you're trying to tune, and this thing's just spinning. So I tried making replacement heads. No way. I couldn't make the little flat thing, so with the tension, they just spin. They don't tune, they just spin. So they do keep the torque there, and if I take pliers, I could tune the thing, but I mean, it ain't worth it. It's just fun. So here it is. The toy kid guitar I was working on yesterday. And it sounds like it's got pretty good resonance. So my other choice is maybe to make my own tuners that are friction tuners, which is just a peg that's a little wider at the bottom. And then you shove it in there and it's got a hole. And you have to pull it out a little bit, push it, and then shove it back in. And those are a pain in the ass way to tune things. But, that's a very primitive tuner that you can try to create. I made a little tin, like pick guard, and it sounds okay. And I kind of fixed. It was terrible buzzing, so I had to flatten the frets, especially down here. One fret was sticking up so high. I mean, the whole guitar just sounded like one tune. But this is a super cheap kid's guitar. It's just a good learning experience, experimental, and I'd never tried to fix tuner heads before, so at least. I mean, I got everything up to the point of keeping them from spinning around. Maybe if there's a piece of metal that, I don't know. I don't know what the solution for that is. And to go out and buy tuner heads for a cheap kid's guitar, that's just not worth it. This is why we need 3D printers. So I could just take this, scan it, and have the 3D printer make me, 5, 6 new ones, and then you just fix the kid's guitar. Or make the kid a guitar that's better than this. I hope you're watching, China. You keep this shit up and you're going to have a fucking 3D fucking printer problem with America because I don't like having to fix your junky toys. The body is okay. It's crooked. Whoever lined up the neck put it on cattywampus. So this thing is not centered. Okay, so it's okay as long as this center runs all the way down to this, and that this is all centered, it's fine. But if you notice the hole here, the strings cover it, but the hole here, I put my finger in, it's off center. You have to keep it centered so that when you're playing, you can actually play these notes instead of the strings hanging way off over here or something stupid. You see why I end up tearing most of these guitars I find apart and just using the neck and sticking something else on as the body and using some other tuner heads or something is because these things are so chintzy. But I mean, they're meant to be chintzy. They're meant to be in your kid's room or a decoration or something. They're not like really for learning music on. They sell these things at the swap meet all the time. So that was my project. I was totally thinking about yesterday and turned out to be just a junky waste of time kind of project because it didn't work. I mean, I kind of have it tuned, but I mean, playing it is horrifying. Look at how tiny the frets are. Even my fingers don't want to do it. Let's see if we can hear a power cord. Hey, Pix, where'd you go? Here's my pick can. So before we begin, let's jumbo. Jumbo. I'd love to know how to make tincture. That would be really cool. Now no one else can use it. It's mine. I just marked my territory. The rest is mine. Not unless you like double dipping. Okay. So the first story I'm going to do, oh shoot, you know what I keep doing is I keep closing the window I have these stories in, and I follow so many, I'm being an idiot. It's like, you were going to tell that story, dummy. Now you're going to go find it. All right, so my first story, which is super fucking interesting, and I'm going to explain to you why this is interesting. Many of you became stoners at a time when High Times, there's my camera. Okay, many of you became a stoner at a time when High Times magazine was, of course, the authoritative word on being a stoner. Whether you were a stoner in the 1970s or you were a stoner in 2000s, in the years after 2000, you know that High Times magazine is basically the go-to magazine for all things cannabis, marijuana in the United States. That they had been rated many times, and that they are an activist magazine that was all about basically freeing the plant from the very beginning. Let me take that back. Yes, with marijuana, they were always about that it should have been legal, and there was no reason for it not to be legal. But they also promoted cocaine and other drugs, speed, anything that basically it was an experimental magazine. Okay. But eventually they whittled out all of those other things, even though they still talk about mushrooms and peyote. And, I don't see many stories about cocaine because now that's so much of a big time pharmaceutical thing, more than an illicit drug market anymore. I mean, there still is, but I think speed seems to be all the preview of the pill manufacturers now. Some ingestible, calmer form of speed rather than snorting coke all night with your girlfriend. Okay, so High Times magazine has always been there for us, but it has not been loved by our government. There have been many raids on them trying to catch them with marijuana, which is what they're writing about. And they started the Cannabis Cup in what is it? In Holland, because that was the first place that allowed cannabis, and so they could openly have a competition to see who has the best one. So they would go over there and come back, and this just absolutely fucking was infuriating the police everywhere. And it got to the point, I think, where they made them like cover the magazine with like a plastic cover or something, like it was pornography. Once again, can't see the plants, can't see them, they're influencing the minds of Americans. Like the Triffids, this is crazy. It's like Invasion of the Triffids, the way they're acting. Look out, it's coming to get you. We got to put a fence around it. It might walk away. High Times magazine was something that you bought at the head shop, not a record store. You had to go to particular stores that had a hidden head shop in the record store, or that were a head shop, or some kind of countercultural shop. And usually the townspeople would try to throw them out of town. It wasn't just the bongs that they were trying to keep out of people's hands. It was knowledge. It was news. It was anything contradicting the bullshit that they were pumping out on the war on drugs. So High Times magazine, when the internet came along and they got online, and I was a stoner hiding deep in the education system with a child, and working and everything, and hiding the fact I'm a stoner and I'm just a nice lady that works in the school district. Nobody look at me. Yeah. I'm just a nice white lady. Nobody look at me, which turned out to be a lot easier than I thought, because at the time I thought everybody on God's green earth, was after me. And the fact is, I found out later, no, they really didn't care about me. They all had this all because they wanted to do this to poor black people and Hispanics and stuff. And then I was pissed. I was livid. I could not describe how livid I was. And on top of that, to find out that maybe my mom's health had been harmed by the fact that she could have been using this for her asthma all of these years instead of those fucking inhalers. And because of a government lie, her health status in her life, is dramatically different. And comparing me to my mom at the same age is night and day. And seeing where my mom's breathing is now with her asthma, it pisses me off. And I want to strangle the motherfuckers that came up with this lie. Okay, so back in the day, when I still wasn't sure about everything, and I was an activist, and I had read Jack Herrera's book, which was a very interesting idea that Hanover Fisk came up with. It. I read Jack Herrera's The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I don't think I'm good enough to read that. To be honest with you, I'd love to do that. But I think that really takes a fucking good actor. And I mean somebody with, who has a Sir after his name or before his name. Sir blah, blah, blah reads Jack Herrera's The Emperor Wears No Clothes and reads to you in this beautiful voice. That, not me stumbling over fucking, stupid terminology and stuff like that and specialized words that I don't catch because it's not normal. You need someone who is a trained linguisty type actor, I think, in my opinion. I can do it, but I think it would have such a deeper impact if somebody really special, You know what I mean? I don't want to suggest anything, but if anybody should read Jack Herrera's book in an audio tape or something like that, it's this guy right there, man. Or somebody like that. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I was an activist. I had picked up Jack Herrera's book at a local head shop. I saw it, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and it was very political time. That wasn't the only thing political I picked up at my head shop. I also picked up a tape that was a compilation of different people talking about political issues. And it had Hunter S. Thompson on it, and it had something talking about Reagan and the fight, against AIDS, and how actually the Republicans had completely ignored the AIDS epidemic, blamed the sick people, and because of it, it became worse, And there was just all this really fascinating information. It was a spoken word tape I had bought, and I actually lent it to a friend I knew from the college. The same guy I met in the mall when I was frying, and he's like, "You're frying? Really? Look at this! Look at this!" He had a jacket full of shit. He's like, "Look at this! What's this? Is this doing something? Look at this!" I'm like, "Okay, stop. You need to stop." That's a little much. You're being a little much right now. But anyway, later I lent him the tape. I've never seen this guy since. He was really cool. I lent him the tape, never saw it again because he loved it so much. He shared it with all of his friends and stuff. And my husband was really pissed. That was another tape I lent out. We never got back, and he was pissed. The other one was Jackie Chan's Spiritual Kung Fu, which is actually called something else. But it's where my husband is so angry that I lent that tape out, and it's a VHS. He's like, "We never got it back, and it's my favorite Jackie Chan movie." It's mine too, and I'm like, you can see it online now. Spiritual Kung Fu is fucking hilarious. I could go into it. It's so funny. It is just nothing but it's funny. It's funny as shit. It's got to be as funny as that movie he did, The Big Rumble or The Big Fight or something like that, where everybody was showing up to this town to participate in the big brawl, in a giant brawl, and the last man standing wins. That one was like my second favorite Jackie Chan movie. But this Spiritual Kung Fu one fucking just had me fucking laughing. It was so funny. There were so many great and very original things I had never seen in comedy before. Like how he had to write with, they do calligraphy with a paintbrush and give him one that weighs like 30 pounds. And he's there trying to do this real intricate Chinese calligraphy with this thing that's like made of lead. It's funny. They punish him in such funny ways, and there's a bunch of, it's hilarious. It's just really funny. Plus, you learn a little bit about Chinese culture, of course. Okay, so let's see. When I was there, I got this book. Okay, so this was like a time of I'm coming out away from my parents. I have my own family. I'm coming out with my political ideas and what I think should go forward and everything with the person I'm going to be as an adult in the future. And Jack Herrera's book was certainly part of that. But I was also scared to death to own things like that, to have it in my house, to have pipes, to have anything like that had to be in a box, tucked away, put away, hidden from sight, away, shame, shame, don't let anyone ever know. I hope the smell's not in the house. A constant fear somebody from work was going to stop by my house. I kept my relationships like the way homosexuals do. When they can't come out to people, you compartmentalize your life, right? I heard somebody else say this just recently. Oh my gosh. Very wonderful, cute fucking actor from the 50s and 60s. And he didn't necessarily come out as gay. He doesn't like to talk about his private life. It's a Tad Hunter, I think it was. I saw a documentary about him. And he was saying how he had compartmentalized his life. He was perfectly fine with it. I mean, it was bad, but it was normal. It was it was the way you lived. And that's the way I lived. I lived with people I was friends with and I supported, but I had to keep a major part of my life away from them because I had a whole group of friends I trusted deeply with my deepest, darkest secrets. And with my husband even more. So I was deep, in my compartmentalizing of my life. So when you met me, you didn't get the impression I went to heavy metal concerts or I was in mosh pits or I smoked pot or did shrooms or acid or anything else, or had experimented with any of these things. When you talk to me on the playground watching students, I would never give away any of those tells to you. And if I felt someone trying to ask me questions, I'd play dumb. I even went to a training where they handed me a bong. I need you to smell this bong that we confiscated from someone so you know the smell of marijuana. These idiots thought if I smelled the bong that's going to be the smell of marijuana. I'm like, oh my God. They just handed me a fucking filthy fucking bong and I'm supposed to touch this? I don't know where the fuck, whose ass this has been up, and what's been smoked out of it. And you're just telling me it's only marijuana. Where's the proof of that? This is just something you pulled out of somebody's trash or a bust or something. And now you want me to put my hands on it. And this is called training. So they put it in front of me. I looked at it like I didn't want to touch it. Like I was the most prudish lady. And I'm like, fine, I will touch it. Oh my God, it smells exactly like what I think. And I hand it away because it smelled like a dried plastic, old, disgusting bong. And who knows what the fuck they smoked out of that thing besides weed. Okay, so I always was underground, completely underground. Now, I wanted you to know this so that it ties in the High Times story. I know this is long. Going to High Times magazine's website was terrifying for me. I was afraid that somehow I would be tracked, traced, figured out. Whoever goes there, because back in the old days, that's what they tell you. If you try to buy from a website or a place, in the back of High Times magazine sells something like grow stuff, that's actually the DEA. They're setting you up for a bust. That's the FBI. Every time anybody came up to you and said, hey, I'll sell you seeds, that's the FBI. That's the DEA. That's the FBI. They're trying to set you up. Everybody, you were completely in a world of paranoia, right? At least I was. And so you were so terrified that somebody was going to find out you. I was afraid to even go to a website at first. Today, to be in the experience I'm having today compared to the dark, dystopic existence that I was having, which seemed to be the norm at the time. Shocking. It's like it makes sense, but it's like an unbelievable tale. If you told someone this story that didn't know anything about marijuana, prohibition, or the issue with drugs, they'd look at you like you were fucking, you're kidding. It'd be like telling people about Lilliputians and how they tied down Gulliver. You know? I mean, it would just sound insane. It would just sound insane. And it has been completely insane. Okay, so now I go to High Times Magazine on the internet all the time, post those stories. As a matter of fact, newspapers are now linking to High Times stories and reprinting them and mirroring them, right? And spreading these stories around because it's from High Times Magazine, the authority on marijuana, which is gaining in popularity and is beginning to be proven as a medicine. Suddenly, I'm not scared to go to High Times Magazine, and I'm certainly not scared to talk about their articles like I have been for the last fucking 30 years. So imagine my feelings this morning when I read that High Times Magazine is expanding their offices to Los Angeles. Do you know what would have happened if they had done that in the 1980s? In 1985, if they said, we're going to put an office in Los Angeles, there would have been cops up their ass daily. There would have been bus people, they would have planted, oh my God, who knows what the fuck would have happened. It would have been a war zone, like a really underground paper, like something the government couldn't trust. You know what I mean? Today, it's just business. It's no big deal. It's only a plant. We're all going to need therapy after all of this because this is crazy. You have put us through the fucking ringer, and I think you owe us some shit. I think you owe us something because I don't think it's okay to put a human American person like me through 30 years of terror, and then the next day, it's business. It's just business, perfectly normal, no big deal. Do you know what you did to everybody's life, including mine, with your goddamn fucking dystopic nightmare? You should pay me money. So I become what? Another group that you have disenfranchised and fucked. And now the only thing that you can offer me is what? What I deserved in the first place? I think a court would award me just a little more for my troubles and my heartache and the heartache of my friends and family and the arguments we had over this issue because you lied to all of us. Imagine how I feel reading this. Happy, angry, disbelief. Is this a dream? Is this real life? Is this really how this turned out? I want a fucking time traveling machine now so I can go back to 1985, go to my high school class. I want to go back to 1978, go to my middle school class and go, guys, guess how this is going to turn out. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. But if I did, it could derail the whole thing. Why isn't that a fucking time traveling story? Because seriously, the emotions, the roller coastery kind of emotions that this whole experience of prohibition has created in my life is ungoddamn believable. It's fucking legendary shit. People ache for stories like this to happen in their lives. I wish my story wasn't so boring and bland. I wish I had some sort of excitement and I was somehow a renegade or a rebel. I didn't fucking want to be any of these things. And I got it right up fucking my ass. Along with every other American that just wanted to fucking have a relationship with this plant. Because why? We were inconvenient. Because they can make money off of us. Because the plant that's associated with what we get high with hemp is the real threat to industry and they want to keep down. Did this really just happen to me? And all of us? What the fuck? Are you kidding? Let's not ever have this happen again, shall we? Can we somehow come to some kind of agreement to avoid all these sort of what the fuck moments? Let's stick to the science, like real science, not made up science, not pretend science, not poorly researched science that's unprovable, but we're going to have the news now tell us what science is. You know, I think the last people on earth that should be describing science to us is the news. I wouldn't take their word on any study for anything on earth. Even if America does do studies on marijuana, and I'll get to the story, but even if America does do studies on marijuana, how the fuck can I trust those stories when everything they print seems to be misleading, half-truths, or lies? At some point, people, I mean, it's like a relationship. You just go, look, I can't. I have to have a life, and it can't be this. And I got to make a choice. And this is a very bad relationship. Unhealthy. So is marijuana going to be reclassified, legalized? Is Hillary Clinton ever going to embrace it? Is the government ever going to? Who the fuck cares right now? Here's what I know. All of this was not like Bugs Bunny used to say in the old Warner Brothers things. Is this trip necessary? Is this trip really necessary? Because back in World War II, everybody was, saving on fuel and collecting tin and rubber and shit like that for the war effort and cutting back on their sugar use and everything. So Bugs Bunny used to say in those old Warner Brother cartoons, every once in a while he'd go, is this trip really necessary? Why in God's name was that trip really necessary? There had better be a magic silver lining somewhere at the end of this. Because the people that have to live with the consequences of this what are they going to do? I actually pity them. I mean, Kevin Sabat isn't, I'm sure he'll go off to some shitty, smarmy, fucking bullshit career. But the truth is that he's going to have to grow a beard, change his name, somehow fill out, do something to repair his image, his reputation, because he's destroyed it. He's destroyed his reputation amongst marijuana users in the country and the world. He's a man that can no longer be trusted by us whatsoever. Not that he ever was. That's shunning. It's horrible to do that to somebody. It's sad that they've done it to themselves through lies and manipulation for profit. They became like vampires preying on the public, on their fear. Okay? So, like the Scarecrow from Batman or something. It's fucking crazy. This whole experience is insane, and I think we're all going to have something to help us reconcile our feelings, at least for the next 10, 20 years. A holiday, a celebration, a constant reminder. Because if you're going to ask me to move on from this point forward, I'm going to say this honestly, I don't think I can without constantly harping on, do you know what the fuck you've done to us? It's fine to turn a new page. But if you don't seriously embrace your mistake, it will constantly be brought up by people like me because I don't feel closure. And maybe that's what I'm saying. This whole situation needs closure for people like me. Do you know what you've done to us? You need to lift this major fucking hatred shit off of our shoulders and now. Because it's only going to hurt you in the future politically, not me. And I'm telling you that is going to be an imbalance in reality, until that's done. Until some president or somebody comes out and stops being a fucking idiot. We're going to regulate this thing for public safety. And the things that we tried before as honorables, they were lies. They were lies, and they were meant to hurt people. People like Gavin Newsom are beginning to say that. We're here for social justice because what happened before, guess what? Wasn't. And he's acknowledging it as a public official that his government has done something terrible and needs to be held accountable for it and needs to change it. And toot sweet, you know, get up off it and let's go. Shit or get off the pot is what I know. So at the end of all this, here's what I feel like. You don't get to do this to people without saying you're sorry. And not just, oh, okay, I guess you were right. Well, now I think I'll invest in the industry and take over and walk all over top of you, just like I did before, because nothing's really changed. No, sucker, you need to change. And nothing's going to be okay till you come out, admit what you did, and do that. You're going to be stuck in like a broken record. Okay. So I'm going to read you this amazing story about High Times moving to LA. But for me, this is like, wow. Wow. I remember when my town fucking witch hunted a bong shop out of our town in the 70s called the loading zone because they didn't like it. Like fucking old ladies with pitchforks and fucking torches. Get Frankenstein out of here. Put a dude out of work and everything. The bong shop had to move to the unincorporated part of town to the fucking Salzers. And that has been my head shop I grew up with. One head shop for years. Always afraid it was going to get busted down. Always worried that when you went in there, every cop in town was watching you. Do you understand what you've done to us? And you need to understand and address it and make some sort of an amends, or this is going to be a problem. Really. I'm feeling it myself because I'm shocked. This story makes things, you know, like, oh my God, I remember, I just walked around the house. Oh my God, I remember when blah, blah, blah. And then they said this and this and that and this and that. It's like fucking, you're coming out of a bad relationship and the guy's saying, and now we'll just move on without saying, I'm sorry. No, man. Do you know what you did? Because you need to fucking recognize. Otherwise, I don't feel as though you appreciate what you put me and other people like me and people in much worse positions than me through. Something that was not necessary, was at its very core flawed at best and evil at worst. Do you think you're going to prance away from this without fucking having to eat a little fucking crow? No. No. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you. LA Biz. bizjournal.com. LA Biz. Never heard of Biz Journal. Okay. High Times expands content, opens LA office. High Times magazine, devoted to marijuana culture, is expanding its content and staff, including the opening of its first Los Angeles office. The magazine named David Benenstock as head of the content and added a team of 7 content producers, reporters, and ad sales representatives to staff the new Los Angeles office. High Times also is restructuring its New York editorial team, promoting former Mike Ganikos, a 10-year veteran of the company, and former managing editor Jen Bernstein as business editor and lead writer for Weed to Know, a newly daily digital newsletter. Oh, Weed to Know, it's cute. It also launched a redesigned mobile and advertising-friendly website with designated sections for High Times event series, multimedia content, and a full magazine archive. As marijuana legalization spreads and evolves, the appetite for in-depth, insightful coverage of the culture and industry around the plant is growing rapidly, and High Times is growing along with that demand. Chief Operating Officer Larry Linsky said in a statement, by fortifying our content leadership team, and expanding our presence in Southern California, we'll be able to create compelling content across all platforms and serve as authoritative voice of cannabis culture. In his newly created role, Bernenstock said, Bernenstock will lead the Los Angeles office, oversee content for High Times, and help spearhead the company's modernization of its digital platform, including its website, social media platform, video, online newsletter, and other multimedia initiatives. He'll also lead the brand's expansion into new television, film, and entertainment projects. Bernenstock rejoins High Times after serving as an editor for the magazine from 2002 to 2012. He will work in tandem with New York-based editor-in-chief Dan Skye and will report to Linsky and publisher and chief events officer Mary McKevy. Let the hair down now. I'm not so warm. After each one of these little things, like I actually read all these stories earlier, right? When I was getting ready before I took a shower. So like I'm ranting, so I'm acting. Some of me is acting. I want you to understand this. I'm an educator. I understand how important it is to draw you in, get you emotional, and set you up for this reading. And to express really in sort of short format what it was I was feeling all morning after I read that story. And I was in the shower and I'm like, I can't, I'm talking to myself. I'm already planning what I'm going to say to my high school class when I time travel. Do you realize I'm going to fucking show up. I'm going to conk the guy that was supposed to show up at my fucking high school and do the drug presentation about marijuana and talk about how it sucks up into your brain cells and makes you stupid and stays there for years. All this kind of bullshit. I'm going to bump him on the head and show up and say, yes, I'm here to give the drug talk. And go out there and just start out like, and then just and by the time these people figure out what's going on, I'm done. Come fuck out of there. Oh, hi, I'm from the future. Like I make it like a whole play. Like I was in the shower thinking about it. I make it like a whole fucking play. Like I'm going to pretend to be from the future. And I'd come out like Mork and Mindy, like a little silver outfit, like a spaceship opens up and fucking smoke and hello, humans. I am from the future. Here is what we will have in the future, and tell them exactly what the fuck they're going to have. Black president, drones, robots, the whole thing. Disruptive change, accelerated change, to the point where maybe the teachers start to have a little sweat because it starts sounding like, whoa, that is a trippy. Wait a minute, what? How is this about marijuana? Because marijuana is legal in the future, and it's a medicine, and it could save your life. Like I'm already like plotting and planning. That's the fucking emotions that this fucking thing has created in me, where I want to go back and right that wrong. So how do I do that without like crying on camera? I have to create the framework, but loosely, for a narrative I'm going to tell you, and then I ad-lib it. Because that's all I know how to do. I'm half-ass trained. I only went to college and stuff for a little while. So it's like I don't have like the full skills that a person that could create these kinds of things would have. So, my experience and education is limited. So I don't have like amazing set background opportunity and all that kind of stuff. So the best way I can do it is to do what I have always done as a parent, a person that worked in education, and an artist, and that is to use everything that I am, All right, so I wanted you to feel that too. That was shocking to me. Holy crap. We were just talking about, you know why watching me smoke pot is so popular? And I've said this before, or not that it's popular, but why you would watch me at all? Because it's rare. It's rare. I'm going to go into this other story because it's all like for me, mentally, it ties together. Okay. There is this hilarious story that's coming out of Torrance, or is it Torrance? No, I'm sorry. It's Oregon. Okay, it's Oregon. Oregon said that you could grow your own marijuana, right? See the camera so I know I don't look stupid. Okay, see, it's lined up. Okay, so Oregon, legalized recreational and medical marijuana, and you're allowed to grow marijuana, right? Okay, so people are allowed to grow marijuana, but I guess they either made it a rule or a recommendation, they can't seem to decide which one, that you can't see the marijuana. No, you can't see it. You must hide it from public view. You must hide it from public view. So, why? Has it got tits? Is it showing its vag? What's going on? Why can't you show the marijuana? Why is it like when I was talking about High Times Magazine? Why were they trying to make it come to you in the mail in a covered plastic thing like it was showing fucking gay porn or something like that? Or child porn or God knows what? Why is it like, oh, this is something that no one can see? Send it to your house. You must open it with shame. What is that Puritan bullshit goddamn crap? And why? Will I go blind? Will it turn me to stone if I see the plant? Will I be shocked? Oh my God, that smell. I don't feel well. I can smell it. Oh, I'm feeling dizzy. Oh, I touched it. Oh, take me to the hospital. What the fuck is that about? There's no reason to that at all. That's just witch honey up your ass bullshit. Over regulation. Based on what? Boogie men. What the fuck? Okay. So what these geniuses do? Well, I'll tell you. They recommended that if you grow marijuana, you must grow it behind a 12-foot high fence. That can be easily seen from everywhere in the neighborhood. Oh, isn't this making sense? Here, we want you to hide your marijuana grow from sight in this bouncy hut. In this, fucking circus tent. Next to your house. No one will ever know it's in there. And write cannabis on the outside of it or something. Okay, so, I mean, really, what the hell? Were these guys invested in fence companies? So in order for people to avoid having to get, I guess, some sort of, they would have to get a thing from the city that said that they could build the fence, which of course may cost a fee, right? Because they have to meet zoning laws and stuff like that. So they have to get a permit, right, to build this fence. So some of the people have decided to build only a 7-foot fence and cover the top with a sort of extension of plastic that you couldn't see through, that was black or milky or something like this, which makes the thing even more monstrously horrific. And in this story, they're going to describe how this overregulation and stupidity has created a landscape nightmare of ugliness. And nobody can figure out what this was supposed to have accomplished, except to draw attention that that was a marijuana grow. When in fact, most normal Americans would walk by marijuana and have no idea what the fuck it is, unless you pointed it out to them. Do you know what normalization is? And I talk about this when I read the story. It's when you get used to seeing something. Like, okay, my glasses. Were they fun to wear at first? No, I couldn't see a goddamn thing. My eyes could not adjust from looking here and looking here, so it was affecting, I'm walking, I'm teetering, the ground seems to be doing this weird warpy thing because the glasses are cheap. Was it easy? No. Did I get used to it? Yes. Do I notice them now? No. Has it gotten easier? Yes. Could it have been better? Yeah, but you get used to it. You stop noticing it. That's what normalization is. You don't notice LGBT people or transvestites or something because it's not something like a fucking unicorn or a Sasquatch walking out of the woods. Oh my God! never see an alien spaceship. It's not something that's like fucking, the heavens opened up and the voice of God, kind of thing. And you're like on the ground. I beseech you, Lord, have pity on me. I'm but a mortal. That's, a burning bush. Makes people stupid. Easily impressionable when you make something bigger than life. And asking people to put a 12-foot fence around something makes it sound like you're keeping lions and tigers in the front yard, not marijuana. Like I said, what are they afraid? It's going to wander away? It won't stay put in its little plot? So I'll read this stupidity to you, and you'll get the point. And I, like I say, reading the article, completely expect my idiot backwater of Ventura and Ventura County to think of the same sort of bright, brilliant, genius ideas. The county also had nearly 6,500 medical marijuana patients, up about 1,300 from the year earlier. This year, following voter approval of recreational marijuana, the state has approved 11 grow sites in Josephine County to provide medical to retail outlets. Rules for recreational program mandate that grows be shielded from public view. Yes, what geniuses came up with that idea? I'd love to know that. With one option to accomplish that being the construction of an 8-foot fence. Oh, God. Hey, they are shining geniuses, aren't they? However, the fence isn't required, said Mark Pitzinger, a spokesman for the Oregon Liquor Control Commission regulators of the new recreational market. Oh, well, take it all down because he says it's fine. Right. I would keep mine up. They just need to make sure it's obscured from the eyes of the public, he says. As long as they can prevent public access and obscure it from public view, they don't necessarily need an 8-foot fence. And that's where I think this whole thing has gotten fucking why? I'm sorry. What's going to happen if the public sees it? Will they turn to stone? What the fuck is that supposed to do? That is dumb. These are not boobs you're talking about. This is not a nude woman standing in your front yard playing with her vagina. This is a plant. What in Jesus' name would you need to block it from public view for? Because it will what? Entice the children to what? It's a ridiculous rule. What in the hell is blocking it from the public view supposed to actually accomplish except be annoying? Nothing. What you're trying to keep it something fascinating is what you're doing. You're trying to keep it in that same area as Prohibition did, where it's a magic plant and only the few magical people can see it. A kid is smart, and if a kid sees a parent hiding something, the kid is going to want to know what the hell it is. Like Christmas presents. Are you fucking crazy? I mean, are the people in this fucking place crazy? Is that what their problem is? What in the hell is blocking the public view of these plants supposed to accomplish exactly? Because I don't get it. That's ridiculous. That's thought up by geniuses. How incredibly dumb. You deserve all the trouble you're getting yourselves into, and it's hilarious to watch. Exactly why marijuana in the field should be shielded from public view isn't something Pettinger and his counterparts with the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program, Jonathan Modi, is able to answer definitively. Pettinger said it goes back to the internet and lawmakers and program founders. Yes. It goes back to the intent of lawmakers and program founders. Yes, cowardice is really what it is. They were afraid that, oh my God, if people can see it, that it looks normal and it looks like we actually allow this. And then, oh my God, the kids will get the wrong idea that we actually are grown-ups and we take responsibility for shit and we regulate it. And they're not supposed to touch it. Apparently, we can't teach people to not touch things that they're not supposed to touch. Bullshit. Ignorant fucking inbred morons came up with this idea. I have always thought that was ridiculous. Why in the hell would you block? What is it naked? Does it have tits? What is your problem? What is your major malfunction? You can't see a plant. I worry for you. Are you an adult or not? What, are you going to freak out? Pass out? You going to be okay over there? Jesus. Rep. Carl Wilson, R. Grants Pass, could only guess how the idea of shielding pot from public view came to be. He was a member of the Joint Legislative Committee overseeing implementation of recreational marijuana. Everybody knows what's behind the screen. He said, "That's crazy." Yes, it is crazy. It's like making a peep show out of a plant. Derp, derp, massive derp. You want to look stupid? Come up with laws like this, genius. And don't see if it don't come back hunting for your ass and attach itself to you, and then everybody laughs at you like a giant clown shoe because you're the imbecile moron who thought that shielding the sight of plants was going to make our civilization a better place. You are massive derp. Wasting our time, tax money, fucking selling fences, derp. What, are you invested in a fucking fence company? Because it sounds like you just gave them a whole bunch of needless business. Jesus. It's like, let's all run around putting a fucking, here's what's funny. Okay, here's what's funny. You look at the Bible, Adam and Eve, what's covering their genitals? A leaf. Apparently, these guys would rather have the genitals covering the leaf. Because God knows you can't see the leaf. The leaf is more fucking shocking than the genitals. What is the matter with these people? Joseph County Board of Commissioners Chairwoman Cheryl Walker, herself a medical marijuana grower, also didn't know the origin of the rule to shield pot from view. Because apparently it will make you blind. It will hypnotize you with its siren song of marijuana love. I don't know what the fuck, what idiot, what fucking Puritan fucking conservative moron thought this was going to be a not a waste of fucking taxpayer time and money. Okay. I don't understand why it has to be, she said. You know what's behind the fence. You're not concealing it. The complaint we've had is they're detrimental to property values. Yes. Yeah. Walker, who said she fields complaints daily about grow sites on a range of issues, not just fences, says the plastic fences get holes in them, rip and blow with the wind. It does look pretty shabby. Well, plus let's jump right on top of, yes, we're growing a natural plant that in its hemp form could produce plastic, and then we're going to cover it with a petroleum product because this is us, genius at work. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. Wham. What a bunch of idiots. It does look pretty shabby, she said. Man, let's finish the part I was reading about how it blows away and stuff. Okay, they rip, they get holes, it looks pretty shabby, she said. I find it to be a very unsightly aspect of the industry. It's goddamn ridiculous. Some grows, in an apparent effort to avoid county permit fees, build a solid wood fence up to 7 feet tall and limit the limit at which the fence may be built without a permit in the county, and then add an additional foot or 2 to the plastic to shield growth. Okay, so let me get this right. In order to build these fences that they may or may not be required to have, they have to get a permit from the county, which is more taxpayer money down the tube. I would love to know whose genius fucking idea this was specifically. I would love to know the exact group of people that came up with this derp and talk to them and go, and how do you feel now? Do you feel this was a good idea, or have we learned our fucktard lesson? The county is considering allowing 8-foot-high fences without the need of a permit, and a recent town hall meeting, in Williams, pot industry proponents suggested the use of wire fences, and one person said that tall, solid fences inhabit the migration, they limit the migration of wildlife. And plus birds and stuff and bees getting your plants, right? Or whatever animals could benefit. Okay. Now we're going to find out how this turns out. So it's ice cold in my hands, frosty. Okay, so I'm going to unscrew the thing. Let's see if I can get this out of here. I think you kind of got to push it through. Oh, it doesn't want to move, that's for sure. Well, it's coming out pretty solid. Let's see if I can show you what's going on here. Oh, Kelly! And I guess you can get some of these so that they like emboss it with something, like a pot leaf or something. So interesting to me that they use the old screw press thing, because that thing, that's how they used to press grapes and all. I mean, that's like a, oh my God, as hard as a rock. Check that out. Oh. Maybe if I put it here, you'll see it better. Oh, back it up there. Huh. Keef puck. I pucked the keef. Puck you! Puck you! Look, I'm squeezing hard. It doesn't break. It feels like a pill. Boop, boop. I turned all that shitty leaf into that. I'm telling you, this is fun. I feel so smart. Okay, now I'm going to cut a piece off. And we'll try it. Maybe I'll use a guitar pick. While we go into this next story, I'll find something proper and we'll put it on top of the bong and take a hit. All right, so let's go back to this real quick. Boop, I did have to use the guitar pick to remove it because it's stuck to the thing, right? And it just presses it in there with simply the force of these screws, right? Which is fascinating because you could press other things, and they used to. I mean, this is how you make paper, I think. This is, you know, how you do a lot of grapes, all kinds of things. And isn't it interesting that these simple machines are still being used to this day for a technology that's old yet new, which is the marijuana or hemp industry or whatever. But isn't that fucking fascinating? Simple machines. So cool. Leverages. Give me a lever and I could leverage the world. That's a simple machine. A lever, you know, like a seesaw. It makes you stronger than you actually are. That's why I love tools. All right. So now I'm going to read this last story to you. Or I think it's the last. Almost the last. Yeah, almost the last. Because the last story is actually my big story. I forgot I have to read this. Gavin Newsom says California legalization is not a sure thing. Okay, now what is this? Well, politics is a complicated deal. You are never sure of a win, obviously. But there's some other factors if you are. Okay, and you're not assured of a win here because this is still very controversial. But it looks like things are moving forward with a great deal of momentum, and we have the Democratic Party that did not endorse Prop 19 now endorsing AUMA. And Gavin Newsom's on board. It fits with our regulations we have in place right now for medical marijuana. And I doubt very much that Hillary Clinton is going to say anything against it when the whole Democratic Party's embraced it. The ACLU has embraced it, and the ACP has embraced it. These are major, groups. Of course, Teamsters have not embraced it, and nor have prison unions and police unions, because, of course, they have been profiting off of the war on drugs, and this is going to take from their profits. Now, this is not education. This is not, we're going to cut your education funds and you'll have to increase size in your classroom. These are people that have been stealing from other Americans and destroying people's lives based on a lie. So I'm sorry. No, you don't get that money anymore, in my opinion. You have to find something more productive to do with your time, because what you're doing is actually destructive. And I'm sorry that it is disruptive to your life, but it has to happen in order for everyone to be safer. Because what you're doing is not safe. It's the exact opposite. It's only safe for you. Yeah. Okay. The other thing is that you never want to let go and get complacent, because if you're, you don't want to be that rabbit that is so sure of your win against a turtle that you take a nap and the turtle wins. Okay. Slow and steady wins the race really does work. And everyone does kind of expect to have some kind of big hit from the police unions and these other people that will come out with their money when they're ready. Because right now we have forward momentum. They're preparing their forces. They will try to ambush us. Okay, October surprise type thing. So everybody's preparing for some sort of Halloween candy nonsense, or now we can't legalize, or, they're going to try to derail it. And we got to be ready for whatever it is they're going to say and have one unified voice against it. That's our best way of winning, besides the money. Okay. The other thing is that if you win big, because the numbers are predicted to be like 55 to 60% with a 5% margin. And then when you take into account that only the prohibitionists actually only have about 39% that are absolutely going to vote against this, there is a huge margin there that are undecided or leaning. And we need those Barbara Boxers. We need those people to come on our side for us to win. So that's another reason why you don't stop fighting. But even if you have, within a margin of error, enough, you're pretty sure, votes to win, you keep pushing because you could get more. And the more you get gives you a mandate. And that gives you more political capital in the future. And that's what I say in this. And that's what you want. You want to approach Congress with this, with the full force of a popular vote. You see these votes? Aren't they sexy? Would you like to have some of those votes? Then you got to come over here and start fucking hitting the bong ding dong. Otherwise, say goodbye to those votes. That's the force of political power, of political capital. And with that, we can make great change. That's why you need to get up off your ass and tell everybody you know to vote for this thing. Not just to get it over the top, but to bash Congress over the head with it like a club, and club their seal ass on the beach. Because they're imbeciles. Not that seals are imbeciles or anything, but you need to metaphorically club them like seals with this thing, with wins like this. An overwhelming majority. That's the way to hurt them. That makes the lies crumble away. Okay, so I'll read this to you, and it is fear-mongering. It's meant to be. It's meant to get you up and going. But this won't get you up and going as much as what Donald Trump's going to say is. And that's going to get you to the polls. And while you're there, you're going to vote for marijuana. And I guarantee that Donald Trump is going to say something stupid to offend people, even stoners. He's a golden goose for us. He's great. He's going to say stupid things, and along with him, the police go. The police, and he somehow will be attached together, probably because of Chris Christie. And that's going to be a wonderful thing. And plus the Republican stance in the House, they're obviously going to be obstinate about marijuana. That's good for us. You need them to be a bad guy. You need them to look really stupid right now. Give them all the rope they need to hang themselves. Here you go, boys. Let me roll that out for you. You're going to need a lot more of that hemp rope to hang yourself with, son. So give them lots of rope. And we'll get this thing through and then be able to use it to hurt them in Congress. And that's how politics works. And no, it's not always the most delightful or honorable profession. Take what you can from it, because I think basically it's probably really super debased and more like the activities of lower life forms. I bet you in actual intelligent races in space don't do things this way, but who knows? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to read the bloodthirsty story of how California marijuana may not be a guaranteed thing. California marijuana activists warn legalization isn't guaranteed. Legalization is not a done deal in California, advocates say. California marijuana reformer advocate, including Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, are warning that statewide efforts to legalize marijuana for recreational use aren't in the bag yet, as reported by San Francisco Gate. Newsom and others say the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, which is expected to appear in the California's ballot this November, still needs tremendous public support and loads of more organizational work to stand a chance of passing. It's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination, Newsom told a meeting of legalization advocates Tuesday. Any of you think this is done in California, you couldn't be more wrong. Although recent polling shows 60% of likely California voters would support recreational marijuana legalization, advocates say opposing forces could put up a hard fight ahead of November's election. Plus, there's no guarantee marijuana-friendly voters will actually show up to the polls, which would spell big trouble for legalization movement at large, advocates say. Okay, I want to stop here and say, let's go back to that 60% polling. Please remember that all polls are at least 5% off. So maybe that's 55. What's really important is that the no's have only about 40%, and you just want to prevent them from making up any difference there with the undecideds. You want to get as many undecideds on your side. And that's what all of this entire article is about. Get everyone you can, because if you get a mandate, you have more political fucking capital to spend when you want other politicians to pay attention to marijuana. You can point to a vote in California that was maybe near that 60% if stoners work hard. Then you get a mandate, and that is political capital that you can spend in the future. So grow this plant and then harvest these buds. But don't sit on your ass or you're going to get fucking aphids. Fucking leaf eaters, man. California is one of 9 states vying to legalize marijuana for recreational use this November. If we don't win California and at least half of the other states in play right now, the public narrative around our industry will dramatically change for the worse and for quite some time, setting us back a decade or more. Aaron Smith, executive director of the National Cannabis Industry Association, said in an Oakland convention Tuesday, it doesn't want to pan, Tuesday, we're going to dance around now, per SF Gate, marijuana is already legal for adult recreational consumption in Oregon, Colorado, Washington, Alaska, and Washington, D.C. Got my Boy Scout knife here. Last story is a humdinger. It's because it's not the story itself that's a humdinger. It's that it points out and brings Snoop Dogg back into the news. And Snoop Dogg dealing with Tweed, or whatever, Tilray, or I don't know, whoever the hell it is. But anyway, because I'm not in Canada. Sorry, I should know, but I don't. To me, they're all LPs, and what I've heard is LPs are not producing good weed, and I think that's bad for Snoop's image. Okay, so apparently Snoop Kate has, and I knew this, he came up with this brand called Leaves, right? And it is a 5-pointed gold leaf with the words leaves over the top, which is supposed to be, like suggestive of marijuana without actually saying Snoop Dogg's marijuana, or dank buds or something like this. Okay. So the problem with this in Canada is that he's copyrighted things like selling lighters and selling t-shirts and stuff and paraphernalia and stuff with this leaves thing on it. Well, he's given up on the t-shirts and the sweaters and stuff, apparently because the Toronto Maple Leafs symbol is very similar to Snoop Dogg's leaves symbol that he wants to promote. And so it may cause a slight, not important, but slight kerfuffle when it comes to legality. And he'll have to somehow adjust that. And I'm sure he'll be able to make some sort of a deal or somehow change the logo exclusively for Canada or something. Who knows? Okay, but that's not really, in my opinion, the point of the entire article. And I kind of go off in this. Really what this draws attention to is how Snoop Dogg is trying to promote his brand, and that, in my opinion, once again, and they go into it in the article, they talk about him being attached to Tilray or whatever this place is. And where's the picture of that? Why is that not in here now? That's much loved Snoop Dogg picture vanished. Maybe my computer hasn't loaded it. Anyway, so, he's wearing this shirt and it has the company's name on it, the one that's at Hershey, Tweed. That's it. Oh, so it did load. Okay, and he's standing there, yeah, cool, And I'm like, okay, here's the problem with that, is that I'm not getting from videos over the internet as far as reviews or people showing off buds and stuff that they're selling things that weed that is really amazing. You see places like Denver and, Colorado and fucking San Francisco and Hawaii and stuff, and they're like, oh, I show you the kind, I show you the bud, and a big sweet bud, and they show it close up in the camera, and it's crystally. People cannot buy cameras fucking nice enough to show off the buds they want to show off. I don't see people showing off LP weed like that. Usually it is some kind of a white medicine bottle that I've seen, and they like open it up, or it's a dark medicine bottle. And when I was looking at Freddie Pritchard's reviews of them, apparently the medicine bottles are like this fucking big, and they're going to put that much bud in there, like this. So there's like this much bud rattling around in a container this big. Tell me where in fucking industry that makes sense. And he was saying the reason that they probably do this is because you can't put that in your pocket and stuff. You have to have this out or in a bag. And so it's different than, say, this container that you can put in your pocket. So if you have this in your pocket, clearly that's not legal government Canada weed, and you must go to jail, my friend, or receive a fine, or, So they're coming up with these, like, what the fuck marketing bullshit. This is not a business. You're selling pretend fantasy. You're selling, like, okay, so Snoop Dogg attaches his name to Tweed so that they can brand their weed with his image, likeness, his reputation for amazing California marijuana. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? Because those guys are going to shit on your reputation with their crappy weed. Some poor kid in Canada is going to, or kid, or adult person, kid as in an adult, is going to open a container of this medical weed, and go, what in the fuck? And smoke it and think, okay, this is the dankety dank. And then somewhere in their existence, they're going to come across the dankety dank and they're going to realize they've been ripped off. And you know what that experience is? That's bad. That is bad. That will create a bad consumer backlash. When someone's able to try a better product, bad, because they will discover your lie. They will discover your lie. That's where it's like Russia. No, this is good enough. This is a grocery store. One piece of toilet paper for all of you. Grocery store, just like America. In North Korea, they fucking paint grocery items on shit and make fake grocery store. So when white people from America drive by, they go, wow, look at that grocery store's filled. Yeah, it's fake. There are no grocery stores, So these guys are selling an illusion of medical marijuana or medical cannabis because they're not actually providing for you the the selection. You know, the consumer has a right to selection. Like I was talking about with my husband. How the fuck is he supposed to find what fucking weed would be best for him and going through strains when maybe he has a low tolerance for certain things if they only have 4 brands for like each LP and you can only use 2 LPs? You pick one, you don't like their weed, you can go to the next one, that's it, those are your choices. Even though the country has like 10 or 15 of them now. They fucking narked out all the dispensaries in Toronto, had the cops come in and bust them because of competition. It's like the mob. That's literally like the mob. And I can tell you where it's going to lead. Not to their success. I'll tell you what. It's not going to lead to their success. I've seen, have you, like I've said before, have you ever heard of Thomas Edison's film studios? Or Thomas Edison's big, huge, multi-million-dollar film industry? No. And Thomas Edison invented that shit. It's because he had thugs go out and chase people down that were making movies because he was trying to make his own fucking films and stuff. And other people started doing it, and he's like, go beat them up. And he'd send some thugs out there. Yeah, Thomas Edison. Fucking send some thugs out there. They fucking bang their fucking cameras, smash it. There's a fucking movie with Burt Reynolds where he's in a movie production company during the beginning of the early days of Hollywood. And they had to come out because Thomas Edison's boys going to come out and beat their ass, you know, because they're getting into something that Thomas Edison don't want no fucking competition in, like he did not want to have with, well, guess who? Tesla, you know, that's how fucking business rolls. Okay, so yeah, these fucking LPs in Canada narked out those fucking dispensaries in Toronto straight up. And I can tell you how that's going to end. You're never going to hear of them again. Ever. Because what you do is, what happened to the movie industry? Moved to Hollywood. And now the movie industry is all about Hollywood. Nobody ever fucking heard of no back east movie industry started by Thomas fucking Edison, who invented the shit. So that's what's going to fucking happen to Tweed. And it pisses me off, or all these other companies, these LPs, and it pisses me off that I was hoping that Snoop Dogg's business managers or whatever were smart enough to not get involved in this branding nightmare, because that's what it's going to turn into. It's the minute that any Canadians try marijuana in California or America, which would probably happen, they're going to come back home and go, oh, we have a problem. They're not going to like the service they're getting at all. And I don't know. Canadians seem like really intelligent people to me, and I just don't think that they're just going to sit around and take it up the ass. Just my opinion. CBS News, cbs.ca. Snoop Dogg's attempt to trademark leaf by Snoop pot products may face dogfight. American rapper files trademark attempt for gold leaf with 7 points that is reminiscent of NHL team's logo. The one that is on the left is Snoop Dogg's logo for his leaf products that he wants to sell, you know, the buds he wants to sell, and Toronto Maple Leafs. American rapper Snoop Dogg has filed a trademark application for pot products using the logo on the left. On the right is the logo for NHL's Toronto Maple Leafs, will use for the 2016-2017 season. Snoop Dogg could soon be in a dogfight with the NHL over the American rapper's recent attempt to trademark a line of marijuana-related products under the Leaf by Snoop, a brand name that sounds too close for comfort to the name of Toronto's hockey team. Yeah, that is something, and I didn't think of that. They also have a leaf on their flag. So maybe there's other leaves that Canadians are concerned about and they don't want to confuse it with weed. Oh, that is a good point. They have to protect their brand. As first reported by Rick Westhead at TSN, Snoop Dogg, whose real name is Calvin Brodus, I did not know that, filed an application with the United States Patent and Trademark Office on November 17 to sell and market a series of marijuana-related products adorned with a 7-pointed gold leaf and leaves by Snoop emblazoned over them. One of the most common types of marijuana leaves often has 7 points. The Toronto Maple Leafs hockey logo, club logo, meanwhile, is a maple leaf with 31 points. A nod to the year of the franchise was founded in 1931. Well, that's interesting too. According to the application, Snoop Dogg plans to sell a line of lighters under the brand name. Another trademark application to sell clothing, namely hats, shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies, with those words on them, has been abandoned. Oh, really? That's interesting. The rapper has begun to sell marijuana-related products on his Leaf by Snoop website, describing the venture as my way of sharing the experience I have with the finest quality cannabis one could imagine. And there's the problem. Snoop is famous for going over to other countries and saying, here is some cannabis from California. Dank cannabis from California. And now he wants to attach his name to weed sold by an LP and grown by a legal provider in Canada. And that is not the kind of weed I think Snoop would smoke himself personally. And when Snoop is curating buds for you, you are expecting the finest. And I do not expect the finest, like wine or something important or anything else. From the LPs in Canada, they're more like a bargain basement. I mean, they're selling you the cheapest to grow, fastest dried out, crumbled, crappy, in a jar that you can't even see in, or a container you can't even see in. And they limit your ability to go to any other LP, so that you only get to choose between 2, even though there's like 10 of them, so they keep reducing the consumer's choices rather than expanding it. The LPs are a fantastically horrible thing for Snoop to attach his name to. It literally is government cheese. And of all people on earth, Snoop Dogg should not attach his name to government weed. Of all the people on earth. So I don't think that this LPs that he signed up with is going to be able to meet his standards. And it's certainly not going to meet American standards expecting Snoop Dogg's weed. He's famous for having very high quality weed. Not some shitty crap crumbled up in the bottom of a medicine, plastic medicine bottle that you can't even see in and you're stuck with after you buy it. There goes your money. No more chances. I think that's horrible. That's a horrible business model. Let's medicate, elevate, and put it in the air, the company's mission statement reads. Yeah, but not with LP weed, man. LP weed is shit. I would smoke Snoop Dogg's weed any day of the week. I mean, I'm sure the weed he smokes is amazing, would put me on the floor. Not LP weed. I wouldn't touch LP weed. Gross. That's as good as my leaf shake crap. No comment on MLSE NHL. According to the Westhead's article, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, the company that owns the Toronto NHL team, filed an opposition to Snoop's logo on June 8th, asking the Virginia-based Patent and Trademark Office for more time to detail its opposition. MLSE had no comment when contacted CBC. The NHL's legal team would manage any issue related to patenting and trademark associated with its franchise, but the league's media team did not immediately reply to an email request for comment. Snoop Dogg's lawyer, Larry Apollosin, also didn't respond to the request for comment. Snoop Dogg has long standing associations with marijuana, and recently associations with marijuana sounds like he's hangs like it's a friend. And recently started to put his money where his mouth is. Earlier this year, he signed an exclusive deal with a Canadian medical marijuana producer, Tweed Incorporated, to allow a firm to use his content and brand in their products, which I think is a huge branding mistake for Snoop Dogg. If American stoners and American rap fans, and Snoop Dogg fans find out that he signed up with a government marijuana, provider that provides shit marijuana and actually narcs out dispensaries in Toronto to the government and has them shut down because they're competition. I think that's going to go very badly for him. I think maybe this whole lawsuit's a good thing, gives him an opportunity to maybe pull out of some of these deals and rethink his strategy, because this kind of branding's not good for him. It's, in my opinion, it hurts him. Snoop is known for having excellent taste in weed. Tweed, I'm sure, is one of the finest amongst the LPs. But compared to the stuff that normal providers have been doing long into prohibition, Tweed and all these LPs are disgusting and foul, and they use pesticides, and they're not professional. They're supposed to be professional in science, all look scientific, but the stuff I see coming out of those facilities that I've seen people testing, no, I wouldn't. No, it's gross. It looks gross. It looks gross when you see people smoke it. No, 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 no. It looks gross when it comes out of the bottle. It looks so gross. It is not crystally. It is not fresh. It doesn't have a fresh smell. I mean, would you buy food or fish or poultry that was just dried up and shitty and had absolutely no flavor, or, I mean, no, you would be very upset at that. So there's some kind of weird thing going on in Canada, and I just kind of wish that Snoop Dogg hadn't jumped in so early with the LPs, because I think that was a huge branding mistake for him. Those guys are idiots, okay? Those LPs are fucking idiots. Okay. Snoop Dogg has a long-standing association with marijuana, and he made this deal with Tweed earlier this year to allow the firm to use his content and brand, Tweed. And here is he wearing their shirt. Take that shirt off, Snoop. It sounds like a good idea, but it is not a good idea. And Tweed is even in an old Hershey factory. No, none of those LPs are competitive, man. And they can't compete, so they narc out their Now, personally, I don't like being mad at Snoop Dogg. I like Snoop Dogg, I always have, but his business choice to go with Tweed is very hard to swallow for me, because Tweed is terrible. I mean, all of those LPs, I don't know how to say it, are terrible from what I've seen. I haven't heard anybody praise LP weed or show it off or show it on the macro and the micro on their webcam or anything like that. Nobody's been holding up buds from Tweed and going, check out these crystals, man. Oh, you should smell this. You don't hear any of that shit from any of those patients, because the government doesn't want you to hear that shit. They want it to be all like some kind of weird, it's like the way old religious people are. If it's fun, it must be sinful. If it tastes good, it must be sinful. If you're enjoying it, it must be sinful. So somehow they make their weed shit. And because they don't want it to be too nice, because it's supposed to be medication, and medication is not supposed to be something you enjoy, which is crazy. More fucktard pill manufacturing thinking coming out of these fucking dispenser or these providers. So I'm like, if I was on Snoop Dogg's team, I would say this is really could hurt your brand seriously. If like, let's say some big fucking CNN company goes down there and starts really looking at this and what people's opinions are in Canada of the LP weed, and then they start talking about how Snoop Dogg signed up with it, that's going to do enormous, in my opinion, enormous damage to his reputation in this new emerging market. And that's not fair. So I'm worried that he's made a terrible business decision going with tweed. I mean, that all looks like a good idea wearing that shirt. I don't, and it's on Hershey Drive. No, I don't think it is. I really don't, because I don't think the weed they're going to produce is going to be dankety dank. They ain't got the dank. That's a problem. And you are known for the dank. He also he's also a noted hockey fan, regularly attending Anaheim Duck games in California. Such trademark squabbles are fairly routine and are usually settled long before getting to court. According to the Patent and Trademark Office, a searchable database, there are 523 trademark applications that contain the exact phrase leafs, many of which are merely incorrect spellings or the plural leaves in the application. Also, I'd like to say Snoop Dogg has appeared on the Trailer Park Boys. Big fans of the Trailer Park Boys. And that's where I was like, that was all making me so happy. That was all making me so happy. Seeing him with the Trailer Park Boys, everything was going great. Then he signed up with Tweed, and I was like, oh, no, you don't understand what's going on in Canada with those fucking LPs. You don't understand what's going on in Canada. They're trying to legalize weed, and then only the government gets to sell it to you through this oligopoly or whatever it is, this monopoly where only 10 or 15 companies get to do something, and everyone else, small mom and pop people, small time business people, can all take a fucking flying leap because they're going to send in the stormtroopers to fucking lock you up, and how dare you break the rules, even though the fucking rules aren't fair, you know? It's disgusting what's going on up there. That guy that they fucking elected, that new fucking, I don't know what the hell, pretty boy, whatever his fucking name is, Trudeau, I have a feeling he sold those people a big snowball, because he talks about legalization, and yet everything seems to be floating towards the LPs and what the LPs are going to do and how it's going to make, you know, and even now the liquor stores that are all government owned apparently, and only the government can sell fucking liquor to you in Canada, which sounds absolutely insane to me. That sounds like an absolute insanity. Okay, they have unionized liquor clerks that I guess, or drugstore clerks also, that all want to get in on this, and they want to be exclusive. They want to cut out normal people and jump in on this market because they already have a head start. They're selling you your drugs and your liquor through, and it's all controlled by the government. To me, I mean, Canada looks wonderful, except for that kind of stuff. That looks nuts. I would be so enraged if you limited my choices like that. If you sold me shit and told me to just put up with it, oh my God, I'd fucking lose my mind on you. And there wouldn't be any fucking LP or any fucking prime minister or anything on God's green earth that would ever stop me. You would have to put me in a jail because I would lose my fucking mind on your ass. And I wouldn't be alone. That's how revolutions fucking get started, when you start dicking people over things that you should not be dicking people over. So the Canadian government is doing a wonderful job talking about legalization, but these LPs are a fucking horrifying business model. And I hope to God that America never, ever does anything so incredibly, it's just not consumer friendly. Something that would only benefit people that sell things and not the consumer. And that's not what Snoop Dogg's known for. And it makes me sick to see this going on. I don't want to be mad at Snoop Dogg, but it's hard not to be frustrated when I know this company he's wearing on his shirt is attached to a government that can't get this right, that just as I can see is not going to get this right. It's frustrating. The Cannabis, thecannabis.com. Following voter approval of recreational marijuana, the state has approved 11 grow sites in Josephine County to provide marijuana to retail outlets. However, a fence isn't required. Pictured, cannabis plants grow in the backyard of a Hawaiian medical marijuana cardholder in Honolulu in February 2016. It's ridiculous. Towering fences around Oregon marijuana grows draw ire. Ugly grow fences are losing the charm and appeal for one Oregon county, and some neighbors are not happy, to say the least. Here, kids, we're going to look at how overregulation of something backfires on those that overregulate. That they tried to say that you're going to have some sort of a Fort Knox to grow your weed in, like a wooden Fort Knox, because we don't want the children to see it, and we don't want burglars to get it, and we don't want rabbits to eat it, and we don't want worms to maybe crawl around amongst its roots or something, because this is just such an alien plant to our planet and everything. So overreaction, overreaction, overreaction. And with overreaction, inevitably comes this type of thing. I've seen it so many times before working in the school districts. What happens is that somebody comes up with a rule that sounds like a good idea at the time. It's usually based on paranoia and some sort of ridiculous fear that is unfounded. And they say, now we're going to lock down on this. And not long after, everyone that's engaged in locking down on this, who may have even agreed with the idea at first, suddenly realizes what a giant pain in the ass it is and almost impossible to maintain, and is now getting in the way of all other operations on campus. Locked doors, gates, things that you have to babysit, and you can't now do your job. I've seen these rules come and go so many times, and I've seen what happens to the geniuses that come up with these rules. They either try to ignore, or they try to blame you, or they say they were never the ones that came up with this ridiculous idea in the first place, but it always backfires on them. Overregulation always backfires. So you don't need to panic once marijuana is legalized. Stupid is as stupid does and always has. So here we're going to read about how stupid led to this hilarious situation. I completely expect this sort of retarded behavior, pardon my language, but this sort of ridiculous behavior from my local authorities here in Ventura County. We're a rural area, and many people would love to grow. I expect them to want you to put some ridiculous clown, sort of, what do they call it? Bouncy castle, sort of inflatable, something ridiculous nonsense over top of your grow to supposedly cover it from sight that will make it a gigantic eyesore. And then people will begin to complain. And I will simply point at the morons leading the county. And oh yeah, their fear-mongering and overregulation created this situation, when it's ridiculous. Murphy Orr. They say good fences make good neighbors. Then there are the fences that enclose the growing number of Oregon marijuana grow sites in Josephine County. There are a lot of them, and they are often ugly, especially when topped by a couple of feet of plastic. Among those who are unhappy with the proliferation of Vasquine view blockers is Chris Locke, a Murphy landscape nursery owner who endures the sight of a neighbor's fenced marijuana grow. Locke, co-owner of Murphy County Nursery, says the fences are ruining Josephine County's rural landscape. They're tall and typically made of wood, or wood topped with plastic. Many are easy to spot. I thought the point of these things were to hide your grow, not become a giant circus tent that everyone in the neighborhood gets to look at. There are so many people who are unbelievably unhappy over the fences, said Locke, who has erected a sign that says, "That's not ours," with an arrow pointing to the marijuana grow next to her business, located just south of the Applegate River and within plain view of traffic on William Highway. I think the laws should be changed, Locke said. However, whoever made the law that a grow had to be covered up is ridiculous. I'm going to stop here for a moment. So what was the point of covering up these grows so you couldn't see them? And what has that done, children? That has made them a gigantic eyesore that you could see from outer space. Because regulators are such geniuses. They are such, it's the Streisand effect, kids. Try to obscure something, and all you're actually doing is drawing more attention to it. And it seems to me that if you would simply let the plants grow, and they grew everywhere, people would stop noticing them because it would become normal. By hiding them, you're still keeping it a giant clown shoe. Normalization means you see it all the time. Let's take homosexuality as an example, or perhaps transgenders. The more you see, the less afraid you are. The more it becomes normal, the less you notice it. Do you notice the clothes you wear every day? Do you feel it on your body? Does it bother you? Can you feel the texture of your shirt? No, your mind and body grow accustomed to it and begin to ignore that. It's unimportant data. The plants around you, you don't really notice what they are, unless, of course, they're fruiting or blooming or they smell nice, or someone has them in the garden and they're showing you specifically. But if you walked right by marijuana, would you really recognize it? So what the fuck are we hiding it for? Clown shoes, overregulation, geniuses. Look out, genius at work here. Some genius at work. Last year, the fence next door to Locke's business was an ugly black plastic barrier. This year, it's been upgraded to an uglier black plastic barrier adorned with brightly painted artsy fish, turtles, and dragonflies. It looks to be about 12 feet taller or higher. I'm assuming she means feet. Okay. Okay. 12 tall or higher. Okay. The artwork could be described as having a psychedelic Northwest tribal motif. A local artist did the work, according to the man tending the property. He asked not to be named. "We have the nicest fence in the valley," he said. "At the site, we did this to make everybody happy because of the ridiculous fucking regulations." And yet, does this make everybody happy? Because those that dream up these overbearing regulations, you know, these geniuses, these brilliant people out there, they come up with these rules, don't think ahead. Locke says the fence backed by chain link is better than it was, but believes she lost business last year when would-be customers saw the fence and thought it was her marijuana grow. So is it about the marijuana grow or the ugliness of the fence? Her sign disclaiming ownership of the grow went up about a month ago. Since then, people stop by once a day to say they've stayed away because they thought the grow was hers, she said. "I realized last year when they became real obvious, boy, it's really slowed down here," she said. "I passed it off. The number of fences in the county has increased as the use of medical marijuana and the number of medical marijuana grow sites increased since 1998, the year Oregon voters passed the use of pot as medicine. In January, Josephine County had more than 2,700 medical marijuana grow sites, up nearly 300 from the previous year. The county also had nearly 6,500 medical. Okay, so that's the end of my ranting and raving for today. But I thought that was an interesting article, and it looks like that doesn't mean that this is going to stop Snoop Dogg. But I think that the more attention gets drawn to this, and the issue with the LPs, I could see Snoop Dogg hurting his brand. And I like Snoop Dogg. I don't like being mad at him about this. So I hope he figures out a way to either leverage the Canadian government, which I doubt he can do the right thing, or extracting himself from that serious situation, because Snoop Dogg is known for very high quality cannabis. And I don't think if you go and look on the internet and look at reviews of LP weed, you get the idea that this is the kind of cannabis that Snoop Dogg is known for. This is not how he approaches it. So maybe if he could improve quality, that'd be great. Or standards, that'd be great. I don't know. He gets his medicine from some big time Hollywood doctor or something like that, or she's his doctor and gives him his prescription. But the places he gets his medicine from is entirely different, and much more freer market, much more competitive than the LPs in Canada. So I just how can you compare the two? Obviously, an open, freer market with more competition creates better quality product and more choices for the consumer, and is a healthier relationship with the seller and the entire system than shoving, 4 growers down my throat and put up with that, or, fuck you kind of thing. Okay, so let's try this. Keith, I loaded up before I go. Ooh, it's hot. Oh, so much better than just trying to smoke the leaves by itself. Get the keef off of it. Turn it into food, and then compost with what's left. That's what I did. I turned it into food, lotion, keef, even before I got to the bud part. All right. So you stay high and goodbye. And I'll see you tomorrow with hopefully more positive marijuana news. And we are drawing closer to the day when supposedly the DEA is going to say something about rescheduling. Probably not something positive, knowing them. But we can only hope. More than likely, we will have to do this through the force of the vote and state-by-state regulation. And basically, I think what we're doing is we're dismantling the power of the federal government, because now other people are starting to look at things like guns. Why can't we have our gun laws be individualized for states? You want to have individualized marijuana laws for each town, each jurisdiction, because not everybody feels about the issue the same. Why not with guns? Why can't localities ban this and do that and, sort of circumvent the Second Amendment to some degree? And that means that we are basically undoing the federal government's overall ability to control us, because now we want local control. Look at how that local control thing just jumped up to something much bigger and much more interesting, and will piss off a lot more people, like the NRA. So, basically, our fight for marijuana and the way we've done it state by state, because the government won't take responsibility, has now given everybody the bright idea that local control is a wonderful idea and that we should do this for everything, including maybe our roads, our water, and fucking gun control and everything else. And the federal government will piss away into basically nothing but a giant bureaucracy and disappear. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. So we'll see. I don't think it matters anymore what they say. I think they're a dead duck. That's a lame duck right there. The DEA is now a lame duck. Sure, they can arrest you, destroy your life. Public opinion's dead set against them. They're in deep, 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 deep trouble. What are they going to do now? All right. You stay high and goodbye, and I'll see you tomorrow.